In this week's brand new episode of Hill Climb Monsters and Project Cars 2, we're once again trying to tame a monster as the 1,000 brake horsepower McLaren P1 GTR takes on our Azure Coast hill climb course. But can this manic McLaren claim top spot? Let's go find out. What's going on, guys? My name is Batilio and welcome back to Project Cars 2. And after a long hiatus, a brand new episode of Hill Climb Monsters. And this week's car is an absolute monster, an absolute beast. The McLaren P1 GTR. I've been wanting to do this for a while, and the intention was to have this out last week for my birthday. And that's why I picked this car, thinking, you know, if I had the money, if a fairy godmother or godfather or just the godfather, and make him an African to choose. If he was just to pop up and say, it's your birthday, can I have any car you want, money is no object, this is probably what I'd pick, because I'm a bit of a McLaren fanboy. As some of you may know, I'm a huge McLaren fan. I've been following them for many, many years, since the days where Senna and Prost were going hammer and tongs at each other, and that follows on to their road cars as well. And yeah, so I decided to do this one, and I mean, the stats we're going to take a look at, they're just absolutely incredible. They really are. So, produced in 2015, of course. This is the race bred model of the McLaren P1, which on its own is fantastic. But they've actually, you know, they fettled it and added a few bits and bobs to it as well. A permanent rear wing rather than the one that springs up and down when required. So yeah, produced in 2015 in the UK, of course. Good old Blighty. Rear wheel drive. It's got a 7-speed sequential gearbox, and that is bolted to a V8 engine, producing 1,000 brake horsepower. Absolutely incredible. That's all good enough for 217 miles an hour in terms of top speed, providing you have a straight long enough, and 0 to 60 in 2.4 seconds. This car, for the first time in this series, we've actually got a car that features the holy trifecta, I suppose you could say, of ABS, traction control and stability control. So that's going to be a little bit interesting. A lot of people say that, you know, ABS and traction control, while they're sort of nice to have, they don't improve you as a driver, and they can, once you've got used to not having those things, it can be a little bit cumbersome to have those, but I suppose we'll find out. What it doesn't mention here, however, is this car also features a sort of KERS system, an energy recovery system, or a battery boost system, and DRS as well. So plenty of stuff for us to play with and get through, and it still had a little bit of a learning curve as well with those last two I mentioned. Control difficulty 2, cornering speed 2, and the weight is coming in at just a shade over 3,000 pounds, so quite heavy, I'd say. And yeah, I mean, in terms of practice and setup, there wasn't a whole lot I had to do in terms of setup for this car. It is very, very well balanced off the start. There were a few things I need to do though. The first main thing was understeer, mainly towards like the back end of the mid corner and corner exit. This thing has a lot of understeer, and also sort of like early initial turning as well. So trying to dial that out was a little bit difficult, because you know, the further you go, it just becomes a case of diminishing returns. The further you go, and then also it kind of starts to have an effect on other parts of the car, which can unbalance the performance of it. So yeah, that was a little bit difficult to dial out, and it's a bit surprising considering it's rear wheel drive and, you know, front wheel steering, of course. So you normally get understeer of this nature, or in my experience you do in a front wheel drive car. So yeah, that was a little bit of a challenge to figure out. As always, because it's me, there were a couple of accidents here and there. This one just coming through the early start through the Senna S's, and I just got a little bit too tight to the bollards. And those bollards are big bloody heavy things. You just see the damage it did to the front of the car, and then at that point the steering is just all skew with, and then you're into the wall, and yeah, that's pretty much it. Trash cans are flying, body parts are going all over the shop. So yeah, a little bit of a biggie accident, not as big as we've had in previous episodes, but a fairly big one. But yeah, so but I mean, overall, like I said, it was more the practice and setup. It wasn't so much the setup, it was more trying to figure out where and how to use the DRS and the boost, because I'm not quite sure how it works with this. There's been occasions when doing runs where I press the DRS button, it stays on. Other occasions I press it, I look down and it's turned off. So I'm not sure if it's maybe linked to the steering. As soon as the car feels a little bit of steering input, it automatically turns it off. So I'm not too sure about that. And also, obviously, we've got the battery as well, which is it's quite a big battery in terms of the boost. I wasn't finding that I was, running on, fumes battery-wise coming towards the end of the run. You could pretty much run it in a lot of places for a long, long time on this run, so that's very handy as well. But yeah, I mean, very, very nice car to drive. Absolutely sublime car to drive. It really is. But yeah, so we need to see how this thing gets on in its run, and how well it's going to stack up on our leaderboards. But yeah, before we do that, let's just remind ourselves about the leaderboards, because it's been a little while and I need to refresh my memory a little bit as well. So, the current top car on the board is the Toyota TS050 Hybrid, which came in the Le Mans Pack DLC with a 541.383, so a fairly big lead there, just under 13 seconds. In terms of what this should be aiming for, the only other car we've had that falls into the Track Day A category, from my memory, is the Mitsubishi Evo SVA, which we had in the last episode with a 639.735. So it's got a good chance of shooting for that. I definitely think it will beat it. But in terms of where it possibly should be, I think this has got a realistic chance of pushing for the top 5 potentially, maybe even beating that Jaguar. Who knows? But yeah, there are the current leaderboards and what it has to aim for as well. So yeah, what we're going to do though is no more talking from me, for the next few seconds at least. We are going to head down to the track, and we're going to see how the McLaren P1 GTR gets on our Azure Coast hill climb course. Okay then guys, here we go. McLaren P1 GTR on our Azure Coast hill climb course. You can already see just how it gathers speed, almost up to 145 miles an hour as we head through Booty Curve, our first corner. And yeah, coming through the center S's, pretty well balanced. Don't quite get it how I want through there, but again up to 150 miles an hour. The way this thing gathers speed is so impressive. As we come through Cruise Liner corner and down towards Trash Can corner, we're actually going to tag the trash can on the inside there. Aware of that oversteer, I decided to try and just get ahead of it maybe a little bit, and I think I just turned it a little bit too early there. Maybe dinged the paintwork a little bit, but coming down to the magic roundabout, bouncing over it at 125 miles an hour. Like I said, this thing is just so well balanced, and it takes pretty much most things in its stride. But as we come now through Stickman Squats, again, very well poised through here. A lot of cars tend to get on that bump and they tend to oversteer as you get on the power, but this, more than likely due to the fact that it has traction control and stability control, it was very, very well poised through there. But onto the happy highway now, and at this point I'm holding both the energy deployment and the DRS button. And for the first time in this series, that car, normally you get cars pitching just upwards on its back wheels. This got all 4 wheels off the tarmac. So yeah, very, very, very manic lap. And as we now come down towards what will be Stonewall corner, very good on turning there, and down through here. I mean, the understeer area, so this is a very big understeer area, and you saw here, I don't quite get it as tight to the wall as I would like. It's not a huge issue, but I think it maybe did cost me a little time as we get down into second now for this very tight understeer corner, I tend to call it. And then we're coming now into Ice Cream Cove, and through this bumpy section again. I think because it's a road car primarily, even though it'll have slightly stiffer suspension because it's the GTR version, it handled it very, very well through there. Normally, it's quite bumpy. You got those very, very small bumps. So this thing, though, like I said, it takes most things in its stride. And like in the build-up to it, I said there wasn't a whole lot I had to do with it because it is still very well balanced from the off. But coming now into James May corner, and this was one of the best cars I've had through here. Just get the nose in, get on the power again. More than likely again because of the fact that it has traction control and stability control, but it was so good through there. And as we come now, and that's completing the first sector and up into Silver Spoon Village. Had a few issues through here. Like I said, it's gathers speed so quickly, it kind of creeps up on you at times because you're not looking at the speedo, you're looking at the road. So I did have a couple of moments into the wall on the exit, or the entry, sorry, to Silver Spoon Village, and again onto outrun through here. Very, very good. Don't quite get it how I would like it exactly. Coming down into a Fraggle Rock corner, maybe scrubbed a little bit too much speed through there. I think maybe I could have took it a little bit quicker, but again, we're on the battery deployment and the DRS for a moment there while it will allow us to, but through the corners I daren't press it. As we come down into third gear for bridge corner, probably could have come down for second there. As you see, we just started to understeer just towards the back end of the corner, and yeah, there are a lot of corners with this car where you're driving it and you're thinking, okay, I can get through this corner in third gear, but you still have to come down another gear for it, just to get that turning and to get a good amount of acceleration out of the corner. But onto the Monga McRae complex now, and again we're going to get on that battery problem. Like I said, the battery just has so much power in other cars that have had that particular function. By this point, I'm really starting to think about, I'm gonna have to start being a bit more conservative with it. But with this, it's just like every chance you can get to put it on, you can whack it on. I'm not sure if it recharges. I don't believe it does. As we come now through the first and second Camel humps and into Mirage Wall, we get a little bit wide here, almost invalidated, just about keep two wheels on the tarmac, and then through Mirage 2, the tighter of the two corners, and now onto the pogo stick straight. And again, look at the way it gathers speed. Just there's 145. That's about as far as we're going to get, but just absolutely amazing car. And again, just dip the inside wheel on that grass, just don't bring the car around and up onto the back end of the complex itself. And again, these jumps, especially this one coming up here, it tends to just almost put me into the wall a couple of times. It's not particularly happy over the jump. It's not the worst car we've had by any means, but through here onto the Great Ocean Highway, and again, very, very good through there. A little bit of a lock-up. You just had the tires just squeaking a little bit as we come through there, and through the onto what is now the final sector. Just look at it gather speed. We're going to go to 180 miles an hour before we have to dip the brakes to get the nose in. And coming through now onto the viaduct strip, we get on the curb a little bit there, which just unsettles it. It just slows us down a little bit and getting on the power. Just needs to get it settled before we did. But through here, very good, very easy, just take a bit too much speed through there. I did end up in the wall a couple of times on my practice runs, and now down towards Deception, just going to get the nose in quite early. You have to be quite, in this car I was very aware of that, because Deception, it can just drag you out into that barrier on the right hand side, and with this being a little bit understeery, I was keen to just make sure I didn't bin it. And again, through here you just see how close we come to the barrier. It kind of works out in the end almost like a one long corner with two apexes, so it wasn't too bad. I don't think we lost too much, if any, time through there. But through here, coming down onto the back end of the run now, almost tagged the barrier going through there. There are times when it reacts very, very well, but then there are some other times where it just feels a little bit understeering. And again, that was another thing I was wary of coming through this the final section now down Rocky Road, because cars with understeer tend to really struggle through this sector, especially this one, slightly off camber, right-hander. It's very easy to get dragged out to that left-hand side and into that barrier. Staying tight to the wall, nice turn in there. We're going to get on the power, have to adjust just a little bit, get a little bit of wheel spin, but across the line we come, and it's going to be a time of 6 minutes 21.137. So absolutely staggering time from the McLaren P1, and what that means is it's, as I said it, I think it has jumped into the top 5. It's actually gone 4th on our Hill Climb Monsters leaderboard, and I mean, well, a lot of the cars on that list you'd probably expect it to beat. The fact that it beat the Jaguar XJR 9LM, that really surprised me. And as I said, the only other car in its class was the Mitsubishi Evo SVA. It was probably reasonably expected to beat that time, but on the full-blown game leaderboard, as you can see, we have set the fastest McLaren P1 GTR time on PS4 in the world, and we're a full, 9 seconds or so faster than the other McLaren P1 time, which is sitting down there in 10th. So it puts us third on the leaderboard, just behind our fellow racer Chris Jones, who is racing in the WSRC GT5 Cup, but he's in Division 1. So yeah, I don't think we were going to beat the top 2 times, because of the Ginetta G57 is just so quick, and it's probably got just infinitely more downforce than this thing has, so it's going to be much quicker through the corners. So, but I think to put this thing third in this particular category, I think is very, very impressive, and I was very, very happy with that run. I think I could still wind a bit of time off, but I don't think I'm going to wind enough time off to get into second or first place with this car. I think I could probably find another 2 seconds or so, but that run there was pretty much my last run, my last throw of the dice, because we only have an hour to set our time runs. So yeah. But yeah, guys, so there we go. McLaren P1 GTR goes third on our Hill Climb Monsters leaderboard. Sorry, fourth on our Hill Climb Monsters leaderboard, and third on the game leaderboard. So very, very good run there. But yeah, that's the end of today's episode, pretty much, guys. So thank you everybody so much for watching. If you did enjoy this, you would like to see more Project Cars 2, Hill Climb Monsters, or just general racing content from myself, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe. Also, if you have suggestions for cars you'd like to see me drive in this series, I've taken a number of various viewer suggestions and done episodes on them. So if you have a particular favourite car that I haven't done yet that you'd like to see me drive in this series and on this course, then make sure you leave a comment down below. I'm always happy to hear from you guys. But yeah, before we finish though, I have a slight request from all of you. In the link, in the description of this video, there is a link to a Twitter poll that I'm running for my Formula 1 2018 series, which is due to start tomorrow. And I'm actually leaving it up to you guys to decide which team I drive for. So there's a poll down there. There's 3 options. It ends at 10 PM tonight. So if you're watching it after that point, 10 PM on the 27th of August, then you've missed it, unfortunately. But if it's before that time, go click the link in the description to the poll. Make your vote. The choices are Toro Rosso, Sauber, or Williams. Currently, Sauber's winning with 4 votes to 0-0. So, but I checked that about an hour ago, so I'm not sure how that's doing now. But yeah, it would be very much appreciated from myself if you could do that for me. Thank you. But once again, guys, thank you everybody so much for watching. Stay cool, and as always, I will catch you in the next video. Peace.